Coming up, the investigation continues into what police are calling a murder-suicide in Southwest Virginia. Meanwhile, tensions continue for leaders in Breathitt County, divided over a number of issues. And the president released his new budget proposal on Monday with $8 billion laid out for a border wall.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 5:29 on Tuesday, March the 12th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News this morning. Well, we've talked about it a little bit if you caught us at 5 o'clock that yesterday, temperature-wise, was gorgeous, and even more towards the afternoon, the sun started to come out, Brandon, and it just turned into a picture-perfect almost spring day. Are we going to see a repeat of that today?
Absolutely. More sunshine likely today, but here's the thing. You're going to get more sunshine in general just because the days seem like they're lasting longer because of the time changes. So we aren't getting more daylight anyway. Let's go to the cameras. Outside WYMT studios here coming up on 5:30. Pretty quiet this morning. Over McKee, over in Jackson County this morning. Pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of activity just yet over that way. Temperatures in the 30s and close to 40 there in Jacksboro. 27 up in Ashland, one of the cooler spots this morning. 56 today's forecast high. The average high, the record high of 85 set back in 1990. You take a look at the planner. We see 55 this afternoon. It's going to be lots of mild temperatures as we head into the next couple of days, but unfortunately we see our drier trend coming to an end as we head deeper into the week. I'll have the rest of the forecast coming up here in a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. We'll be back with you in just a little bit. Well, in Southwest Virginia, police are investigating the deaths of a Big Stone Gap police officer and his cousin as a murder-suicide. Virginia State Police found 21-year-old Bailey Smith and 26-year-old Emery Connery shot inside a vehicle along Highway 23 in Lee County Sunday morning. State police are not releasing any information about who the shooter was. The bodies have been sent to Roanoke for an autopsy. Those who knew Bailey say the loss is hard.
And he is such a fixture in the community. He didn't know a stranger here where he'd grown up, and he could just mingle with the people and connect. And he's just awesome. He's an awesome addition to our police force in town, along with being an awesome person.
Be from 5 until 8 p.m. on Wednesday at Union High School. The funeral procession will leave Gilliam home in Big Stone Gap at 11 on Thursday. The graveside service will be private. Well, Knott County will continue to operate how it has been under a partial government shutdown at a fiscal court meeting Monday. Officials work to try and find ways to balance the budget, including passing a new tax. WYMT's Connor James was at the meeting. He breaks down what
the initial partial government shutdown happened in late January.
We made every cut that we could possibly make to make ends meet.
Judge Executive Jeff Dobson says currently the county is looking at roughly $12 million in bond payments and debt. It's been a buildup for decades. He says more than a third of it was in the last 2 years alone.
A lot of outstanding debt came in that we had to pay, and a lot of long-term debt that we've acquired.
So Monday, the fiscal court met to have a second reading of taxes to balance the budget. On the agenda, a 2% occupational tax and a 4% insurance license fee. The occupational tax did not pass.
Well, I feel confident that we can make this work.
Dobson says he's been against this from the beginning, but if it wasn't this.
Property taxes were going to increase 16 to 18% in order to cover the Sportsplex bond payment. And I felt that would have been a lot more of a burden on the people than this was.
He believes it would have been much worse come later in the year.
Now, there is no new money from this will come from this until October 3rd. In the meantime, the county will continue to operate the way it has since the partial shutdown started. Now, the battle amongst members of the Breathitt County Fiscal Court moved into a circuit courtroom Monday. Judge Executive Jeff Noble asked a judge to intervene in the impasse between him and 3 magistrates over his appointment of a county road supervisor at the yearly pay of $55,000. A ruling was not handed down yesterday, but both sides say they heard the judge's feelings loud and clear.
This judge cried out in a way that so many people in this community have cried out for so long, and that was for compromise.
And the judge ordered these people to have coffee together, which is the right decision. They need to work this out themselves and not clog up the circuit court with a political dispute.
Now, the judge did not issue a ruling right away, but said he was going to consider forcing them to get coffee twice a week, and possibly rule at a later date. Now, President Trump unveiled his 2020 budget proposal Monday. The $4.7 trillion spending blueprint includes $8.6 billion for a border wall and sets up a new showdown with Congress. The funds would go towards building more than 700 miles of barrier along the U.S.-Mexico border. Cuts to domestic programs, including Medicaid, would pay for it. Democratic leaders are already pushing back.
The budget requests we received today would be a gut punch to the middle class, a handout to powerful special interests, the wealthiest few.
Meanwhile, Senate Republicans are set to vote this week on a resolution that passed the House blocking the national emergency the president declared to finance his border wall. Well, in state news now, Governor Matt Bevin signed a bill that allows the carrying of concealed firearms without a permit into law Monday. Those over the age of 21 who are legally allowed to own a gun will no longer need training for a testing to conceal their weapon. Kentucky already allows open carry to those wanting to conceal. Out of state will still need a permit. The law goes into effect July 1st. Now, the governor also signed the Senate Bill 1, the school safety bill. It passed unanimously in the Senate last month. The bill puts resource officers in every school. It also creates a state school safety marshal. The bill is only a framework. It does not include any money to pay for the changes. Well, Governor Bevin posted a video on his Facebook Monday. Following several teachers' sick-out protests last week, in his post, he asks if anyone is sick of sick-outs and claims they have serious ramifications for students, families, educators, and businesses.
And doing this at the expense of the very students that public education is intended to serve. This is about the students, and it should be about the students, not about what's in the best interest of the KEA or any of these other groups that want to attract attention and resources and power to themselves.
Now, you can find the entire video over on our website at WYMT.com. Meanwhile, Kentucky lawmakers are one step away from finishing work on a bill to fine-tune last year's overhaul of the state's child welfare system. The measure passed the Senate Health and Welfare Committee Monday. If the bill passes the full Senate and is signed by the governor, it would make foster parents recertify every 3 years as opposed to every year. House Bill 446 says the state can petition a court for termination of parental rights if a child has been removed from a home 3 or more times within 24 months. Well, a Kentucky mother continues to push lawmakers to pass a bill known as TJs Bill. The bill would require children to wear a helmet while riding a bike. It passed in committee yesterday. It now goes to the full Senate for a vote. TJ is about 9 years out from a bicycle accident that changed his life forever. It is an injury the bill's sponsor, Representative Regina Huff, has seen firsthand.
I saw a traumatic brain injury take one of the strongest people I know, mentally, physically, emotionally, and render him helpless.
Representative Huff is backing the bill in memory of her late husband, Dwayne Bunch. Bunch, a former state lawmaker himself and teacher, died back in 2012 after a year after suffering the injury while breaking up a fight between students at Whitley County High School. Now, lawmakers want to take a deeper look at Kentucky's Hepatitis A outbreak. A resolution unanimously passed a Senate committee. It directs the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to look at the state's response to the outbreak. From that review, officials would then make recommendations to better their response.
There's no blame to assign yet because we don't have any answers. But this is to look at the local health departments, the response that the Cabinet had to say what happened, how did it happen, and how can we prevent it from happening in the future.
43 people have died since the outbreak began. More than 4,000 have been diagnosed with the virus. Well, state representative and candidate for governor Robert Goforth was in Hazard Monday. Goforth is one of 4 Republicans running in the May primary, including Governor Matt Bevin. During a taping of Issues and Answers, we asked the Laurel County pharmacist about why he wants to replace the incumbent and be on the November ballot.
We deserve better. We deserve someone who wants to uplift people and not upend people, and wants to listen more than he lectures, and not diminish people because of who they are, where they come from.
Representative Goforth would not commit to supporting Governor Bevin in the fall if Bevin wins the primary. He also discussed what he expects to happen in the final days of the legislative session. You can catch the full interview on our website. Well, interstate drivers in West Virginia could be looking at a speed limit increase. Lawmakers gave the state's Department of Transportation the power to have the speed limit increased to 75 miles an hour. It is now up to the Department of Transportation Secretary to decide if the speed increase will go into effect. Some say they welcome the change, while some law enforcement say drivers already go 10 miles above it anyway, and this might encourage drivers to go even faster now. Well, springing forward on your clocks can also impact your body. Well, that's no news to Brandon and I. Dr. Ryan Stanton says there is an 8% increase in stroke risks and a 10% increase in heart attacks for the first 2 days after the time change. Stanton says the numbers are worse for the elderly and cancer patients. Dr. Stanton says our bodies have an internal clock and it needs a routine, and any change in consistency will impact our health.
It is something to worry about, and the fact that, but we're now considering kind of putting an end to that. Some states already have. I think it's a good idea because as much as we don't think we like routine is actually what our bodies need.
Congressional lawmakers have introduced legislation that would keep the country in daylight savings time. President Trump tweeted, "Making daylight saving time permanent is okay with me." Well, some reclamation and revitalization projects in Southwest Virginia will soon be able to move forward. That is thanks to funding from the Department of Mines and Minerals and Energy. The abandoned mine land grants totaling around $10 million would fund projects in several counties, including Wise, Buchanan, and Dickinson. Governor Ralph Northam and Congressman Morgan Griffith announced the grants Monday. Coming up, some Perry County students got a visit yesterday from a very special guest speaker.
Forecast looks pretty good for the next couple of days, but as the temperatures climb, so do the rain chances. I'll break them down for you in about 3 minutes.